Chris Klingbeil from Touchdown Executive Search. And this year's Q&A, we're going to focus on mentors. And we're really excited that we've got 3 conversations with people that are all linked by their mentor relationships. And top of this mentoring tree is Amanda Banfield, who recently joined Nando's as Chief Executive Officer for the Australia-New Zealand business after a very successful career at Mondelez. So good to see you, Amanda.
Thanks, Chris, and hi, everyone. Great to be connecting with the AFGC again.
That's awesome. We've been talking a lot about mentoring and its impact on you and on the people around you. Can I just start by asking, what advantages do you see in terms of establishing a mentoring partnership?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a great opportunity actually to just look back and reflect on my experiences both as the mentor and the mentee. So when we're thinking about mentoring, I guess for me, it's typically a development partnership, and most often it's like a less experienced manager who's connecting with a more experienced manager, not a line relationship, and really you're trying to create a kind of safe, open space where you can, work together on, as I said, a development partnership. And I think often the benefits are around just that opportunity to have a sounding board, some shared perspectives, experimenting, thinking about different ways of approaching things, leveraging all that experience from the more experienced manager, just around who might have been there before and therefore can give you some great hints and suggestions about how you might approach a challenge, be that personal or kind of work related. And I think often you get great insights just around your personal opportunities, which may well be beyond what you think. And I think also just a spur and an encouragement and a support to keep growing and keep developing. So very powerful.
Absolutely. And personally, do you have an experience or a memory that you have of either mentoring or being mentored that stuck with you?
I mean, I think I've been really fortunate to have both some great mentors in my life and I suppose increasingly have some fantastic mentee relationships as well, which I get a lot of energy from actually, apart from anything else. But, thinking back, I guess one of my reflections was that most of my mentors came to me through, first of all, being a line manager. And I actually think that's because I was perhaps a bit diffident early in my career and it felt a bit reluctant to ask. And one of my kind of advice to all of you guys would be, don't be kind of backward about coming forward, because people are generally really flattered and delighted to help. But one of my most influential mentors was a guy who started out as my line manager. He taught me an enormous amount about strategy, about business leadership, and actually I would say also about kind of personal standards and discipline and how to role model leadership as well. He gave me my first break, appointed me as strategy director in the UK and Ireland business for Cadbury, gave me my second break, sort of paving the way for me to become the marketing director in Australia and New Zealand for initially Cadbury, and then obviously that quickly morphed into something different when we got taken over by Kraft, and that really set up my last 10-year career here in this part of the world. So I learned a lot from him as a leader, first of all, and a boss, if you like. But then he just stayed on in my life very much as that mentor, as that person that I could, give a phone call to and seek advice from. And he ultimately was the chairman and president of J&J for Europe.
Wow.
He's now retired, but was always there in the background, just offering his perspectives. And even really recently with my move to Nando's, he was actually the only person outside my family who I consulted before I decided to kind of make the move. And he was so helpful just in the space of talking about his own experiences, having left his very long career at Cadbury and moving to J&J, and just helping me to think through, in that instance, personally, what do you bring? What do you choose to leave behind? How do you show up? Yeah. Why are you making this move? How are you going to talk about that? How are you actually going to leave one family behind and join and embrace a new family? And, then practically, how do you immerse yourself in a new culture and content? So, that's just one example, I think, of just the power of these relationships. And they take you in directions perhaps you don't quite realize or anticipate when you start out.
Wow. And in that first role, do you think that relationship that you had with him gave him perhaps more faith in you that you could take that next step?
Yeah, I think definitely when you've got these kind of close relationships around kind of coaching and you're really kind of helping someone to develop, then absolutely, I think it sets up those later opportunities. I should have said, actually, the other thing he's been great at down the years is every so often ringing me up and saying, I've got a job. Now, they always turned out to be in the wrong part of the world for me at the time. But I think that's the other hidden benefit often of mentoring relationships.
Yeah. And in terms of advice, you talked about, being a young person or a future leader and you want a mentor, but you don't really know how to go about it. Do you get them internal, in the business, externally to provide complete independence? What's your advice in terms of searching out a potential mentor and actually taking that first step and asking them?
I mean, my macro advice here is don't overthink it. I mean, this doesn't have to be a relationship for life, and
Yeah.
you're not asking for the crown jewels. So I think the advice is just really think about what topics you'd love to have a bit of advice, support, coaching on right now. And then just think about who, first of all, in your immediate circle, then maybe kind of wider in your business and in your network in the industry. And then think kind of people you've seen outside who you don't know personally, but you could get an intro. And just think, okay, who do I think I'd be able to establish a kind of easy relationship with, who's got relevant experience that I think I could learn from, and then just ask them. And I mean, honestly, you sort of get to, what are you asking for? You're basically saying, look, I'm at this point in my life journey or my career, and I'd really love, a sounding board or a bit of advice on topic X. I think, you'd be a great person who, might really be able to help me. And I wondered if I could buy you a coffee. And the worst that can happen is they'll say no.
Yeah.
And then you just ask someone else. But, you could be opening the door to a great and long lasting partnership. So my advice would be go for it, and always know, as I said before, that the mentor is really likely to be flattered by being asked and get great value from any potential relationship. I have the privilege at the moment to kind of be in really informal mentoring relationships with several people. Quite a few of them are actually at kind of, inflection points in their career. And it's really interesting, apart from anything else, to kind of be a bit of a fly on the wall and understand, that have some of the excitement of their journey. And I think also you just, as a more experienced leader, you get great benefit from connecting to people at different stages of their career. It helps you to stay connected to what matters, to what's being talked about, to actually to access new skills as well and new perspectives. So never think of it as a kind of one-way thing that you're asking for here. It's very much a symbiotic relationship, and you both benefit hugely.
That's great. And your point around having a mentor that's further along in their career, did you find that having that sounding board enabled you to take advantage of their knowledge so that you didn't make a mistake that you may have without that experience behind you?
Yeah, I think there's always those wonderful moments where you're having a conversation, the other person says, well, here's something you might want to think about. And I love those moments, because it's like, okay, now I'm really getting the benefit of your life wisdom. So those are the moments I always really listen to. I think there's that. I think the other thing for me is actually when someone's done something before and they can talk to you about it, it can make it sound less scary as well. So you sort of get the confidence of having already done it, even though you haven't personally, but the person you're talking to who you respect and it worked out fine for them has. And that really, I think, often can just take the stress out of these moments where perhaps you're anxious about some big decision, and it just kind of, as I say, grounds it a bit around, it'll be all right.
That's great. Amanda, thank you for your insight. Welcome back to the AFGC, and good luck on your new role at Nando's.
Thanks. Lovely to talk to you all. Enjoy the rest of the day.
And next installment, we have one of Amanda's great mentees, Lauren Fields, who's a marketing director at Mondelez. So until then, stay safe and be well. Thank you.